Hello, friends. This is Daniel Slocum. I am bringing you today information on the new enterprise asset management model types. So let's just dive right in. I'm already in the enterprise asset workspace, which you can find under Workspace's enterprise asset workspace. Here across the top, you can see various important actions. You have quick links. These are cards. You can dive right into any of those by clicking the view records. Quick links, you can dump into the different dashboards. You have a 360 asset view talking about lifecycle states, model categories, asset counts by model category, asset value by model category, 360 consumable view, similar information to the asset information. Then you have overall performance model lifecycle overview. This demo data doesn't have any life cycles in it, so this is blank. Various information on assets discovered, undiscovered, eligible for refresh by model category. This is the basic overview of the enterprise asset management home screen. Not what we're here to talk about today, but I figured some of you might not have seen it, so I just quickly hit it. There'll be a lot more information coming out about enterprise asset management that will cover this homepage with a whole lot more depth. But what I want to talk to you about right now is the different model types that are present in enterprise asset management. So we're going to click on enterprise asset model management. Here I have the enterprise model management screen filtered down already to just those that I want to work with today. You can filter using this filter function. I have 3 different filters applied, but let's just quickly give you an overview. So if we click on overview, you can again, you have important actions here, different cards for missing manufacturer, model number, useful life, model overview, enterprise models, upfront of life. These require life cycle dates. Consumable models, upfront of life, again, life cycle dates, which I do not have in this demo data at the moment. Again, life cycle overview, lots of life cycle driven data here. Model status in production. All of our models are currently in production. Down here, we have a heat map around risk, and you can create just some basic risk features. This is borrowed from the risk management application. Some of it has been built into enterprise asset management just to give you some basic risk. So these are about our models themselves. We can assign risk factors that drive the data on this heat map. Again, more to follow on that in subsequent videos or trainings. This is not the focus of what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the different model types, and so we're going to get into that via model categories. Model categories. We have the ability to assign a parent category, then the category itself that we're working with, the name. As you're used to in enterprise asset management, hardware asset management, or the asset plugin that has been historically part of ServiceNow for some time. You have these product model class, asset class, CI class. This product model class is actually a bit new. And this is part of the enterprise asset management and how it functions. So when you create a new model category, you need to assign it to either one of these parent categories that are across the top: construction, facility, industrial, medical, retail, tactical equipment, transportation, or wearable, or assign it to the enterprise category. This says all enterprise. The actual category name is enterprise, but this is showing you that if you click this, you get every single one of them that are part of enterprise or sub categories to it. The reason for this, the reason why you need to keep them categorized properly is so that all the brand new functions and checks and balances that are built into enterprise asset management will work. Otherwise, the different features that are part of enterprise asset management that are designed to keep your practice on the rails, those may not be present. So always, if you create a new model category, keep it under one of these top levels, or enterprise, which is the very top level. Do keep in mind that if you create something new, that it might not align to an out-of-box, a baseline CMDB class, CI class, or so that means you're going to need to create a new table for it. And the more tables you create, the potential you have for increasing your spend with ServiceNow. So keep that in mind as well when you are organizing your model categories. There is one thing to keep in mind also, and that is if you are really intent on being granular in your categorization, there is a classification attribute on the model itself that you can leverage to drive reporting and classify your models deeper than just the parent category and name. That way you can leverage out-of-box classes without increasing the need to create new tables. All right, so let's jump in. What we're working with today is facility. In this demo, we're going to talk to the model types themselves. Here you see in the model type column, we have user assembled, consumable, simple, and pre-assembled. These are the standard model types that come with enterprise asset management. Simple is the standard model type that you have been using all along if you've been a customer of hardware asset management or have used the asset plugin. This works the same as those historically, so no need to go into that into detail. Consumable, similarly, it is the same. However, it is built within ServiceNow's enterprise asset management. So if I click new, it prompts me for the model category. I'm going to choose AV equipment because that's where we are. But I want to show you this model type dropdown. Here in the model type dropdown, you can choose consumable, pre-assembled, or user assembled, and it defaults to simple. This works the same way if you choose consumable as you are accustomed to seeing and using in hardware asset management or the base asset plugin, but it is within the confines of enterprise asset management, and it's then the model category itself, the model itself is built into the enterprise asset management models, and it functions and it identifies the type and functionality based on this type attribute versus a record being automatically created in ALM consumable table like you've experienced in the past. So not going to save this, just wanted to show you that and talk to it. All right, so user assembled. This is the typical bundle functionality that you have seen in hardware asset management. If you choose to create a model with user assembled as the model type, you will be able to create the model, but when you create an asset from that model, you then need to assemble it from individual simple models or pre-assembled models that are in stock or other user assembled models that are in stock. So this complete surround sound system that I have constructed has 3 model components. One of them is a pre-assembled model. One of them is a simple and one's a consumable. So when we create an asset from this, using this model as the base, then all of these must be present and in stock for us to assemble it. And we will have to do that manually or with a one-click option that's available to us. Comparatively, this pre-assembled model allows us to automatically order and then have, when we create the asset using this model as the base, it will automatically create all of the subcomponents. In this case, there's 2 model components besides the base system, and it's these happen to be brackets and floor stands for the various speakers. So keep in mind that pre-assembled comes from the vendor already defined and ready to go. And when you create an asset for a pre-assembled model, the system automatically creates all the subcomponents and links them together. When you create a asset from a user assembled model, the asset is created, but then you must build and tie in all the child assets from stock. So that's the difference. So let's just see this in action. All right, we're back at the facilities. In this demo, we're just kind of talking through the various things, again, model types, but the scenario that I've essentially built here is that you are an admin for a company that manages a number of adult living facilities where it's 55 and up, and it's a kind of like an apartment complex, not an assisted living, but it's an apartment complex or a grounds with different bungalows and homes or townhouses. And there are some of the things that, like a clubhouse, other things that you need to maintain the facilities for. And in this case, within the clubhouse, you have a theater room, and we are sourcing theater equipment to build out that theater room. So if we pop into the Calypso surround sound system, which is a user assembled, and we look at the assets that are here, there is one asset present. Let's just create a new one and walk through how this works. So we've created a new asset. We need to fill out some details. Serial number is required. Obviously, this is going to be something that you're building for yourself. So providing a serial number is fairly straightforward. It can be anything that meets your business needs. I'm just going to, if I can talk and type at the same time, assign that as my number. I'm going to apply the same thing to the asset tag. It's always good practice to have an asset tag. Ideally, you're of course pulling asset tags off of a role and assigning them there. The asset function feature is actually really important. Is this a primary asset? Is it the parent? Is it the top level? If this is a computer, is it the primary computer for a user? Is it a shared computer? Is it a loaner? Is it secondary? Something to keep in mind when creating these user assembled or defining the information for any type of the bundled type models, the pre-assembled or user assembled. This primary value cannot be set for any of the child components. Otherwise, the functionality will, you'll get errors when you try and assemble them or when you try and create the assets. So keep that in mind. I'm simply going to leave that blank for right now. Since this is the top level, it makes sense to go ahead and assign it as primary. However, just for the demo, I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to put this as in stock in the EAM Stockroom West. The location auto fills in, various other things fill in. We have various attributes, who the vendor is, acquisition method where you've purchased this, and what the cost is. This is the total cost of all the subcomponents. Was there a purchase order number? Most of these values make a great deal of sense, and you're going to want all the subcomponents to have all these details built in. Filled out. On this user assembled top level asset, though, this is up to you for a business process. Is there a vendor for that? Are you, since you are assembling these from things that are in stock, that's your choice. But keep in mind that those cards that I showed you at the top, at the very beginning of this demo, will highlight, hey, you're missing a vendor, or hey, you're missing a purchase order. So it's a trade-off of how you're going to manage these and just make some decisions on your own. So we're going to save this as is. And now we've created the top level asset and we have not assembled it. So we have no child assets at the moment. One of the great features here is as we do various activities with this asset, they will be tracked in this activity stream. You can filter that once you get a lot of different activities. You can also type various notes to yourself that are right here. When we click assemble, we can then choose items from stock to fulfill the child components that are expected. If we click auto assemble, then the system will automatically try to assemble this from items that are in stock in the same stockroom as we've chosen here, which is the EAM Stockroom West. So I've chosen assemble, and I'm going to choose items from stock. This is a consumable. This is an in-wall HDMI cable. We have 2 items in stock for this center speaker. We have a Denon receiver. We have 3 items in stock for this. We have a display, 2 items in stock, and so on and so forth. So now I have some issues. The asset function must be empty for a child asset of an enterprise asset. So at least one of these child assets, I had a function, which I discussed a moment ago, this asset function attribute, I had it set to something other than empty. So this failed to save. So I'm gonna dismiss all. We'll just dive into this real quick. Sometimes these demos take a fun turn and things happen that you're not expecting. So let's release all of the assets, which is another great feature. While you're still in build, you can release all of the assets. And we are going to refresh this. And now it's empty. There are no more assets assigned with this. And I'm going to click auto assemble, which should allow the system to pick assets from stock that meet the requirements versus picking the one that was that had a function set. So now we have everything assembled correctly. If we refresh this screen, we can see all the child assets. They are all present. If we go back to the details, we can now change this from build to in stock or in use and set it to the location of the theater room that we wish to use. So I'm going to set it to in stock and set it save. So now we have a complete surround sound user assembled system that can be deployed by a fulfillment engineer or whatever your methodology is for putting something into use. Let us look at the pre-assembled, which is in my list here. It's this Bose, not the complete surround sound, because I created this as user assembled with the pre-assembled item as a subcomponent. So let's go ahead and click into this Bose Lifestyle 650. This is the, as you might be familiar with, Bose Lifestyle systems come complete and they're all one unit. However, I added subcomponents that are wall mounted brackets and floor stands. Ideally, I would have created these as consumables, but I created them as model type simple. It complicates this demo just a little bit because we have to make sure that when it creates the assets before we put this into use that we apply serial numbers. Otherwise, it would decrement from what's in stock, just like the audio HDMI cable that we used in the other system a moment ago. So we're going to create for ourselves an asset. We're going to click New here on the Assets tab. Apply a serial number to it since it's required. This you probably pull from the box for the actual Bose Lifestyle system when it arrives instead of creating it randomly like I am. It makes more sense to apply the actual serial number from the box. Apply an asset tag, also from the box. This needs to be empty because it is a subcomponent of the user assembled that we could create from it once we add a display. So we leave that blank. Stockroom is EAM Stockroom West. The location auto-populates. You would want to put in the vendor here. We're purchasing this direct from Bose. You want to choose purchase and apply whatever purchase order number you have. If you have additional information such as depreciation, then you can add that as well, the different type of depreciation you want to assign to it. We're going to click save. And when we click save, it will automatically create the two subcomponent assets. We're still in a build state. If I try and move this to production, in stock or in use, it will fail because my child assets do not have serial numbers. Thus, it would have made more sense to create these as consumables, especially since their cost isn't very high. But this is good, good experience here showing you in this demo, because if you have serialized components that are subcomponents, you have to make sure you capture the serial number. So apply a serial number to this one, save it. That was our wall bracket. We'll go back and we'll do the same thing for the floor stands. Save. Probably want to put an asset tag on that. We're just moving along for the demo. All right, so here in our details now, we can refresh and see that these have serial numbers. I can close the two child records. They aren't needed to be open at the moment. Click on details here, and we can go back to the primary record. And because everything is has a serial number, everything's been automatically created, the two child records, we can now put this into in stock or in use and save it. So the question you might be asking is, can I use a pre-assembled asset as a subcomponent of a user assembled bundle? And the answer is yes. Let's go back here real quick. Note that I have this Bose Complete surround sound system. If we look at one of the assets from here or create a new one, you can see that the child assets here consist of a audio cable for the HDMI cable that'll connect the display to the Bose lifestyle system. This is an 83-inch display, and then we have the lifestyle system as a subcomponent. So you can indeed have a pre-assembled asset as a child component of a user assembled asset that's bigger. What are the use cases around this that aren't necessary facilities for this audiovisual that I've created? Well, it could be for medical, for example. It could be medical carts where they have a computer, a blood pressure cuff, other devices such as ultrasound monitors, those types of things. So that would be one. Those would be pushed around throughout a hospital or a doctor's office, and that would be potentially a user assembled or a pre-assembled if it comes pre-configured from a vendor. There are other things such as fleet, where you might have a truck or a car that had, or even a bus, and on that bus you have the turnstile information, the ticketing information that's at the thing, a GPS. Those might be subcomponents that you want to track. You could get incredibly granular and track tires and wheels and all of that, but that would get pretty painful. So those are just ideas about how these pre-assembled and user assembled might function for you depending on your business use case. But the goal today was to discuss the pre-assembled, user assembled, simple, and consumable, and that is what we've done.